Photography was obviously a tool of the colonial project. It was used to perpetuate racist ideas, and all of those photographs were created without permission, without agency, and they were presented in such a demeaning way. And so I'm looking to not do that. So I'm looking to do the opposite. I'm looking at collaboration. I'm looking at consent. I'm looking at even beauty. I'm being intentional about composition. And I'm looking at how my photographs will be disseminated with permission, with thoughtfulness, and keeping in mind my objective in making photographs. When I am working as a documentary photographer, the people that I'm interviewing, the people that I'm making photographs, they need to know who I am. They need to know what my intentions are. They need to know what the narrative will be and how we can create that together. It's important for them to know as much about me as it is for me to know as much about them, because I will be at the end sharing their story with the world. So that's very important. And it's important because I want to present something that's whole. I want to present something that is dignified. I want to present something that is truthful and that conveys a level of trust. Having as much conversations, exchange, and understanding will present the end result to be something that everyone can be proud of, and will present a story or a narrative that will change the course a lot of times on what we've been used to seeing in the world. So my book, We Are Present 2020 in Portraits, really zoomed in on the individual stories, because what we saw in the news were really wide angle narratives about what was happening in the world. These two convening crises that were happening, but really were kind of exacerbating what was happening already. We already were challenged by our healthcare system here in the States. We were already challenged by state-sanctioned violence, and all of this came to a head in 2020. And it wasn't the first time, but this is what we were seeing. So the news cycle showed us corpses. The news cycle showed us incessant death. The news cycle showed us demonstrations with thousands of people, again, wide angle. I wanted to zone in and speak to people, the individuals that were affected by state sanctioned violence, the individuals that were affected by COVID and the lack of access. It's important for us to see one another. If you see one person, you're looking in their eyes and they're telling you what their experience was like, losing 9 people in their family to COVID, or losing a family member to a police killing where there was no justice. We have publications in our past that portrayed people of color, really one dimensional, no consent, no context. And we don't want to do that. Yes, we know there's death and there's grief. People are mourning. What else can I show that portrays mourning? We all can relate to mourning. We all can relate to grief. So, what can I show that really humanizes this moment, that can make the viewer say, oh my goodness, I'm heartbroken? Because when we have the sensationalized imagery of, bloodshed, that can actually kind of lead people to be desensitized. When we look at violence that has been perpetuated, death and destruction in communities of color in the media, it's almost as if those images want viewers to be desensitized to Black life or brown life. Like, oh, here's another mass destruction. This body was not a person. This body did not have a family, etc. And so I think we need to keep that in mind. So we want to get consent. We want to lead with curiosity. We want to ask questions. We want to think about the way we are composing the people and the situations and the circumstances that we're photographing. We want to also make decisions about, do we need to be heavy handed with an image that might be very graphic? Is that necessary to convey that there was violence, to convey that there was harm? So many times there are other ways to show that people are hurt and they're healing. And so this takes a lot of creativity and a lot of self reflection and a lot of reflecting on the past and really just considering how your images are going to be seen by the communities that you are documenting. And thinking about, are your images supporting racist thoughts and ideas and ideologies? Are your images supporting reductive ideologies? So these are all things that you need to ask yourself as an image maker, as a documentarian, as a photographer, if you're looking to be responsible. And we all should be looking to be responsible. As a photojournalist, you are recording what's happening as is. But you also need to look for the photograph. It's not always the dead corpse. That is there naturally in the scene, but there's also other elements in the scene that portray violence that has happened and that people have been affected and people need to heal on and are healing from a situation. So even as a photojournalist, you, yes, are recording what's happening naturally in a setting, but there are many elements of the story or what happened that you can use in order to share what the breaking news that's what's happening. Um, our community of artists are not documented. We're not exhibited. We don't have books or publications. So the work that we've done in the past, maybe except for a few, can really go out into obscurity. So making sure bringing those artists in and teaching them, and that will then inspire the people that you're working with to go ahead and create their own art that will go on to create powerful change in the world. Art is accessible. Being an artist is an accessible kind of profession, career, or even activity. You can be an artist. I think a lot of times we think that artists and art, you can only access them in a museum or in an institution. Or artists are people who have gone through formal training and have been validated by the institution, and those are the real artists. And, of course, both of those situations are separated from community a lot of times. So I think one thing is that we need to know that art is ours, art is the community's, and you can access it at any time that you want.